Hi, my name's John McCague. I'm licensed real estate representative with Lepage RCR at Alliston. Been licensed since 2000. Putting together a series of short videos. This video is regarding conservation and environment. Those are two very important issues. They're becoming more and more important all the time. There are conservation authorities throughout Ontario. They all deal with regions. So an example in my area is we have the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority. We have the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority. And we have the Niagara Escarpment Conservation Authority. There are other authorities as well, but those are the three main ones that I deal with in this immediate area. I deal with individuals from those authorities quite often when we're either buying or selling real estate. As a seller, you want to know, if you don't already know, you want to know what of your property is affected by conservation. And you want the latest information available because you're probably going to be asked for it by an interested purchaser. If you are thinking about buying, one of the things you want to know prior to purchasing the property is you want to know what of that property is affected by conservation, or what conservation is in the immediate area. Because every year conservation is changing, they're increasing the amount of land that is affected. So you want to know what's affected today and what could be potentially affected tomorrow. I can get you all that information. If it isn't already available from the seller, I can get that information for you. What does conservation mean? It means that property is protected by the Conservation Authority. Doesn't necessarily mean that you can't build on that protected area. What it means is that when you purchase the property or when you own the property, if you decide to alter a portion of the property that is affected by the conservation, what you need to do is you need to contact conservation and have a representative come out to the property. What they're going to ask you for is they're going to ask you for something in writing, including a sketch of the affected area and what you want to do to that affected area. So if you were deciding that you wanted to put a garden in, or if you decide you want to put a small outbuilding up in that affected area, they're going to want to know that. What they'll do is, if they can't give you an answer that day, what they'll do is they will go back to their office, they will do some research, and they will go back to you and they will give you an okay to do it, or they'll decline the request, or they'll make suggestions on what you can do, where you could locate it. It may not necessarily be right in that very spot, but it could be very close to it. Conservation is really good to work with. They're a very important part of real estate and the infrastructure to do with government. They're there for the benefit of everybody. They're not there to cause any problems. They're there to actually to prevent problems from happening. So as long as everybody, landowners, play by the same rules, conservation works very, very well. I have a good working relationship with the Conservation Authority staff, and I would be happy to either introduce you to them or to work on your behalf to get any information that you require. And if they do have to come out to your property, I'd be happy to come out and be there present, just as a a third party just to hear what is said and to give you any kind of advice or to assist you in the process. The most important thing is that if you do have property that is affected by conservation, that you do contact conservation before you do any altering. The problems don't seem to be with dealing with conservation. It's when you don't deal with conservation, you go ahead and you do those things and you find out that you're out of compliance with them. There can be some pretty heavy fines that are affected or applied to a property. As far as environmental goes, environmental is, if in most situations, environmental in most situations is dealing with the land itself. What you want to know is when you're purchasing a property, has that property been affected in any way environmentally? Negatively. So has there been any soil contamination on the property? There's times where I've actually showed like an old wrecking yard that was used automotive related, and it's been decommissioned and all the automobiles have been removed, but there can still be contamination on the property. Or it could be a farm, and there may be a site on that farm that had been used years ago, maybe in the 1960s or 1970s, that had been used as a dump. Maybe they had taken old buildings and they had dumped the old buildings. Maybe there had been a fire and they had taken the old buildings and dumped them in a certain location. What you want to make sure is you want to know what you're buying. So you want to know that the soil is not contaminated. If it is contaminated, you want to make sure that you're aware of it and that somehow it gets remedied. Whether it's by you as the purchaser, sometimes you can work a transaction where you take possession of the property, but it's been priced and purchased at a value that allows you the opportunity to remedy the problem. In a lot of instances, there's going to have to be environmental tests done. There's a phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Phase 1 is a very basic study, and it has to be done professionally. What they do is they do research on the property to find out if there has been contamination. If there has been contamination, then they move it to a phase 2, which means that they take soil samples of the property. And if they find out that there's been significant contamination, then they move it to a phase 3. And the phase 3 is a very extensive and a very costly one. And that usually only happens if it's been something, we'll use an example like a fertilizer plant, or if it's been a automotive related business where there's been contamination, oil contamination or fertilizer contamination. You want to have that remedied prior to purchase of the property. You can still purchase the property and remedy it afterwards, but what you want to make sure is that the value makes sense. So if the property hasn't been remedied prior to purchase, you want to make sure that that has been built into the purchase price of the property. I have a lot of information regarding both conservation and environmental issues. I'd love to share that information with you if it is of interest to you. You can contact me in person. You can come to my office at 7 Victoria Street West in Alliston. If you want to contact me by phone, Toronto line is 1-866-772-5368. My local is 705-435-3000. My direct line is 705-791-2221. My email address is johnmccague@royallepage.ca. My website is www.johnmccaguesells.ca. And my Facebook business page is at John McCague Realtor. So if you are thinking about buying or selling, or even if you just want to discuss real estate, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to contact me any of those ways. Also, one of the greatest compliments I can receive is a referral of your friends or family. Feel free to pass their name on to me, or if you want them to contact me, that would be great. I'd love to hear from them. You have my contact information. I hope 2018 has been a good year for you. I look forward to having a great 2019 for both you and I. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks very much and have a great day. Bye for now.